All right, it's a Friday, and the hair's out of control. What else is new? What else is new? Not much, because we always start Fridays this way.
Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday! Day.
It indeed is here on SDH AM. John here, you there. Here's the rundown. Bart Keeler's going to join us after I let you know what we're doing today. That includes Bart, because we've got to catch up on the women's national team. U17s are heading over on the men's side. U17 women got bounced in PKs. We have to talk about that. We'll talk about the program women's national team after this particular window. Questions, concerns, thoughts, the youth in the lineup, all those kinds of things. Efforting our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring at the bottom of the hour. Tony Husband's going to join us at 10 o'clock. Tony and Ross. It's funny. It's like Ross comes in 1 week and then Tony comes in to follow. Anyway, last week, Tony and Ross called Vancouver and Dallas at BC Place. This go round, they've got NYC and Charlotte. We'll talk to Tony about both of those, and I've got a Portsmouth question for Tony as well. And I'm trying to hide the Accrington Stanley. I'm trying to hide the Accrington Stanley AFC Wimbledon scarf. So that will be at 10 o'clock. And then at 10:30, we'll get you ready for the weekend. We got AM News to get into, covering everything from the Copas last night. And it was crazy last night in Libertadores. You had Libertadores, you had Sudamericana. You've got Open Cup this weekend. We've got Premier League to look at. We have stuff in and around the planet to get into. Is Real Madrid really going to sue for €5 billion over the old Super League? We'll get into that. We've got Palace and schedule compression. Mikel Arteta saying that folks might skip out on tournaments if you end up with schedule compression, kind of like what Crystal Palace is going through these days. One of the coaches in the NWSL said she consulted ChatGPT for her tactics. You did that. And then we've got the Times reporting that if a particular team gets relegated in the Premier League, it could cost taxpayers £2 million. So that's just like getting us kicked off today. Anything on your mind as we get into the weekend? We've got that. Now that I've got all that out of the way, morning Alex, morning Ricky, all the things. Tom Bogert's got comments. Hang on just a second. So Ricky. All right. So Bogert, what is Bogert up to? Tom Bogert, what is he saying here? Nothing new. We got the Galaxy, Minnesota, Ricky Pooge, and free newsletter, all the things, guides, off-season guides for 30 teams. CRAM got signed to a new deal. 25 under contract, 200 negotiation. Okay, so there we go. All right, so there's that. All right, we'll get into that too. As promised, here's Bart after 3 minutes of venting and trying to figure out what the heck we're doing today. Welcome back to a calmer environment than being in and around all of the road trips that you've been doing recently. So what have we missed, sir?
Well, I got to perform the ceremony for my younger brother to get married, so I think he missed that. That is good. And then we missed a couple of U.S. women's national team game, John. I think that covers it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do have to get into the women's national team stuff, and I do have a card and call to get into from Chicago and Philly. Mm-hmm. The red card. We talked to our friend Max Anderson up in Chicago yesterday about it. He wasn't too keen on it, but I wanted to walk through it with you. And it was the Orahel moment and the aftermath. We want to get into that. Okay, so the women's national team window, we had a couple of matches. There was a moment of panic and the sky is falling and oh my God, what's going on with Portugal? And all all those kinds of things. They scored on them, and then they defeated them, and oh no, what so after this window where you end up putting the ball in the back of the net a lot with 6 goals up against the Kiwis, from looking at it before we break it into its own specific parts with players and such, what sticks in your head from this last window with what we saw from the women's national team?
I think it's fair to have been concerned at that result that the U.S. women put up against Portugal in the first match, because it was a team that was sloppy. That's just really what it was. It was a sloppy game. Lots of turnovers, a lot of missed opportunities in the final third, bad defending on set pieces. That's probably my biggest takeaway from the entire window is someone learned how to defend a set piece, because you had 3 goals scored off set pieces, and another in the New Zealand game that almost Claudia Dickey saved it. That was great. So that would be my takeaway is set pieces to sound like are not at really friend from Fox Soccer.
Yes.
That, though, is kind of the undercard to the fact that this was a roster and 3 lineups chock full of young, burgeoning talent from not just NWSL, but we had Eva Gaetino got brought in from abroad. Lily Johannes from Lyon as well. That to me is the story right now with this women's national team, because it is fair to say that 2023 was a little bit of the missing generation of players behind probably Rose Lavelle and Lindsay Heaps, that pair who we thought, oh man, they're going to play such a big role going forward after they win the 2019 World Cup. 2023, there were a lot of players who weren't really there after them, which meant, now, this is a two-sided coin where we didn't see them on the field, but where they looked for, that's a whole nother story. But right now, Emma Hayes is really focused on how do we find the next young talent at every position. And young is relative. I mean, there's some 25, 26-year-olds, but this was a lineup at all 3 games that prioritized getting people experience. And that is more beneficial than any singular result.
When you look at all of this, the youth that was on display, I mean, it was some of the youngest lineups ever, like in the history of ever, at least in this particular century when it comes to the women's national team. You look at, let's just go to the New Zealand game, and we may work a little backward here. So once again, 6-0 final. You have a Hattie from Sears, a brace from Macario. Rose Lavelle hit a bomb and got it into for the 6th goal of the day. So you had the trio of friendlies. You lose 2-1, you win 3-1, you win 6-0, and you had Claudia Dickey in net against New Zealand, her 4th cap, and it took like 6 minutes for her to get her first save. Then you end, and literally this is like, you're really having to, and this is why we have your show on the network, is that you are really having to search for details, or you've really got to know the depth that you can pull from for this particular starting lineup, because it's Jordan Bugg, it's Kennedy Wesley, it's Emily Sams, it's Lily Real. It's, I mean, these are names that, yes, in addition to pulling in a Lily Johannes and a Rose Lavelle, you get Claire Hutton pulled in. You've got Michelle Cooper coming in. Kat Macario, thankfully, is on the other side of injury, and she's now into this whole thing. And you look at your subs. Lola Bonta is getting minutes. You mentioned Eva Gaetino because of the initial concerns that you had when it came to goals being scored and all of that.
Yeah, let's just start with the back line a little bit, John, because I think that New Zealand game was pretty interesting. Now, obviously, New Zealand is a team historically that is ever present at World Cups, because to them qualifying is really easy. Portugal, I think, is a much more talented team, but the back line for this New Zealand match was a little interesting because you saw, I don't want to say a true 3-back system, but there was a big commitment to playing a center back as a right back, and she got forward a lot. That though being Emily Sam, she was the most experienced of the back line. Jordan Bugg, I think, of all the players who kind of stood out to me this window, she's probably number one. She looked pretty solid, especially when you compare her to the Tara McCown and Emily Sonnet defense from the Portugal match. Jordan Bugg looked really darn good, and I do agree with David. I think Emily Sonnet's time with the U.S. women's national team is probably fading. I don't know if it's totally over, but
I was going to say time as a consistent starter versus time period. Is that a
I don't think you want my answer on that one, John, because the answer is probably.
I'm legitimately just asking. Is there a delineation, or are
So
you?
I think that there is a delineation, but if you were to ask me, I think it's time with the national team, period. And that's no disrespect to what she's been able to do, but um, Bug looked really good. I think Sam's is a great center back. I think for me, she's the best pairing for Naomi Gurma, who wasn't in this camp, John.
Yes.
On top of, other younger talent. I mean, I don't think it's completely done. Maybe that's harsh. I don't see why she is being forced to start all these games. Now, I'll also say that I don't think Tara is quite up to the level either, which has been a little disappointing. I know she's been a really steady defender in NWSL, but just don't see what she is able to do well at the international level. She's not exactly a supreme passer. She's better than most, but that gets overtaken real quickly when she has to get in any sort of defensive moment, and that's kind of a concern. And so I do think when you look at the first Portugal match, and you had Sonnet and McCown together, they were not a great pairing, and they did not set the team up for success. As you move forward away from that, Jordan Bugg coming in was really, really good. And so for me, Jordan Bugg is the number one winner, if you will, stock up from this window.
All right, David's got another couple of other questions. Since he's in the queue, I'll go ahead and rock and roll here. Is Kat Macario a 10 or a 9? Seems to
she's a striker. I think the benefit is you could play her as a 10, but I don't really think we've got Jaden Shaw, we've got Croy Bethune, we've got Rose Lavelle. Right, those are three attacking midfielders that any country in the world would be lucky to have. Especially Rose Lavelle, who is a World Cup winner, right? That to me seems to indicate you're pretty set as attacking mids go. But I do think as a center striker, Macario provides a lot that some other players don't necessarily provide. One of those things is hold up playability, right? But also ability to create on her own. Now, she is obviously still getting back into the swing of things, both in club and country, after a very, very long injury layoff. It's good to see her getting consistent minutes on both sides. I do think it's a little concerning we didn't see a great option other than her. I don't think Ali Sitnor is a great central striker. But it's got to be Macario who you're looking at as your number one striker right now. I mean, she was supposed to be the number one striker last World Cup cycle, and she got hurt. So I don't think that's changed.
All right, next question on the board. Bug and Sam, and this is a question. Do Bug and Sam's both play inside and outside fullback? Do they not?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Like you're not wrong that they both, but they are primarily central defenders. Like that is what they do. I think you can say it's good that they both can play those, and they both do for their NWSL teams on occasion. But I would classify Emily Sams way more as an actual center back. Now formations are a little different for both Orlando and the U.S. national team. So for Sams, that's maybe unfair to her, but I think Jordan Buggs slots in really well as a center back in this system. And maybe that's good for Sam's. Maybe her being able to play kind of the right wing back or right back role. I mean, she had a shot inside the box. So, and that wasn't an LGP run. She was a right wing back or right back at that point in time. So to me, it's a good thing that you can have. I think Emma likes to play that swing 3 to 4 back system where one side gets forward. It's good to have some versatility and some players who can do that.
Yes. Then you look at and Abby's thought was that they were gassed in the final 10 minutes. I mean, I could see that, considering what you have folks that may not necessarily be completely and totally familiar with what Emma Hayes is demanding for a full 90 minutes. So I could see needing as many Swiss Army knives as possible out there, and at the same time knowing that supply and demand, energy supply versus demand might be two separate things that you have to adjust to. But that's why you have matches like this. So this young lineup, I think that was, what was the stat? Hang on just a second. It was the number of average caps. It was 21.7. And I think most of that was Rose Lavelle. I think she kind of blew the curve on this one. 17.3 caps, U.S. starting lineup average, lowest average in 25 years for a USWNT game, and the age average was 23.2. So, I mean, this is where you're kicking the tires. You're trying to figure out everybody else so you don't get caught in transition years and transition tournaments, staying too late at the party.
Oh, and that's kind of, I think if you were to look at all three of these matches, in theory, your best lineup was the first lineup, and you lost that game. Now, when I say best lineup, I mean that's probably if you were to go position by position from this grouping, which player is most experienced, best, perceived as the best at that position. That lineup from the first Portugal match is probably it. It again was sloppy. It looked like they were unable to deal with any sort of real pressure from Portugal on and off the ball. So that's a problem when that's your quote best lineup.
Right.
I'll throw out my other hot take for the morning, John, is that we talked about Emily Sonnet. Lindsay Heaps is also, I think, not long for this national team, to be quite honest. I know that sounds crazy. Definitely as a starter, I think our midfields looked way better without her in it. Now, I do think that Emma Hayes committed the cardinal sin of playing Rose Lavelle and Lindsay Heaps in the same midfield. We know that doesn't work for this national team. It never has. So maybe that's a problem. That probably is telling to me that Rose Lavelle starts another game and we look a lot better. So,
yeah. David says he's going to go see the USWNT in Orlando. If he had to roll the dice on a U23 to get a jersey of, who was Bart's best bet on an 8-year run with this squad, he's not going to hold you to it. But if you were looking at a U23 to get a jersey of,
it's Alyssa Thompson. I mean, I think that would be the most no duh. She's already been to a World Cup, but I would say Thompson. Maybe Johannes is another good one.
Okay.
I'm a huge Jaden Shaw fan, but if you want someone who is like probably going to be here for at least 2 cycles, I would say Johannes or Thompson. Those are the two that I would rock with.
Okay. With this particular grouping, the USA gets Italy now in Central Florida the day after Thanksgiving, or the weekend after Thanksgiving, and then the Monday following at the Erector set. So it's 2 matches in Italy to wrap up the 2025 calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
What would you anticipate coming up in this? Is this just going to be a wild card camp? Is there going to be purpose? Is it going to be the younger players returning? What are you anticipating with November 28th in Deck 1?
I don't know, because it should be it'll be toward the end of the NWSL season, right? So a lot of these players, their off season will have started, and I know Emma loves to prioritize that rest for these players. We saw it back in that May, early June window where she allowed a lot of the European players time off because they had just finished their season. This window happens to be, at the end of the NWSL Cup playoffs. So, if you're a team that has been eliminated but made the playoffs, you probably will want to stay home and rest. And obviously, if you're a player who's gone to the championship, you probably don't want to have to come into this camp. So, I do expect it to be a little bit more young / European heavy.
Yeah.
But I don't know because it kind of depends on who wants to come in. Because I mean, look, the reality is most women's national team players do play in America, right? They're playing domestically here for NWSL. So it would be hard to field the whole team of European-based players because there's not a full team of that. So I do think we'll see some of that. I'm interested to see, John, to your point, like, is it young? I would imagine it is. I don't think we're going to see Emma starting to make real selections until next year.
Okay. One card and call that I wanted to get into with this morning before we come back and do it again on Monday.
Yes.
The Philadelphia-Chicago incident, like I said, we talked to Max Anderson about it. Obviously, Max is looking at it through fire-colored lenses, but it was the Orahel red card after Gutierrez and Wagner come together late. And the reason that we mention this is because, once again, Orahel gets the red. He's not available for match day 2 in this series. So we know going in, apologies to Rich, how they're wired. And what Kai Wagner does is that he sticks out his chin, goes like this, and then you've had enough, and you knock him over, and then he does a fantastic job of selling it. So the Gutierrez Wagner incident, then Orahel coming in and plowing Wagner over, and then Wagner adding emphasis. Orahel gets a red, and he's not available for match day 2. Walk through that one for me.
Well, Wagner, I think, is a lot to blame here. Shockingly, the Philadelphia player is the one who actually is to blame.
Oh, yeah.
His hands go very high on the body of Brian Gutierrez, who is not a tall person.
No.
That, to me, should have probably garnered him something a little bit more serious punishment, to be quite honest. Orahel does what I think any referee would expect, is he comes in to protect his guy. No shock there, in my opinion. But the fact that Wagner doesn't get a yellow card, at least for this, I mean, this happened pretty much right in front of the fourth official, who is very much empowered to provide information to the center official. Probably would have also happened in the line of sight of one of the near side AR, who, again, very empowered to give information to the guy in the center. That, to me, is a little crazy. Obviously, VAR didn't really see anything worth red card, which is fine, but Philadelphia somehow gets away with it, and they're not even low down dirty cheaters, John. They're just a bunch of cheaters. So we know that.
So just a bunch of cheaters. But there's no low down dirty. They're just cheaters.
No, they're just a bunch of cheaters. Again, I think it's a little shocking that Wagner did not get a yellow card, at least here. I think that would be an appropriate punishment for putting hands into the chest and neck area of a player with a lot of force. I mean, he comes up, and that is not allowed, John. Not allowed.
No, that is not allowed. No.
And to that end, maybe Gutierrez probably should have also got a yellow card. I think Orahel, being the only player to come out of this with real discipline, is a little shocking. Look, I'm all for the concept of let players decide the game, but you can't go starting fights. That's not deciding the game. That is outside of the laws of the game. That is outside the spirit of the game. So don't do that.
Yes. Last question. Thoughts on Mel Swanson returning from Abby?
I got to see her play soccer, Abby.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's gonna have a baby, and then she's gonna have to play soccer. So she and Sophia Wilson are in the same boat, to be quite honest. We're very happy for them. They're obviously phenomenal soccer players. I expect their return will be a very nice boost for the national team, but at the same time, they got to play soccer first.
Yeah,
we got to see. It's a little hard to say when I haven't seen them play soccer since they became pregnant, and probably won't until after they give birth, and then come back into their NWSL clubs next year.
Yes. What's the latest for SoccerForUSPod?
Well, I'm back home, so now I can kind of focus on actually recording a podcast. So next week we'll have some recap of the women's national team, plus a little bit of breakdown of this. I don't know if you've read the ESPN article about how U.S. Soccer looks at and decides venues for their matches and everything that goes into it.
Okay.
It's not required reading, but we'll talk about that as well as what this USWNT. Yeah, requested for your edification reading. Yeah.
There you go. As always, Bart, glad to have you back. Glad that the efficient can now be added to the CV in addition to everything else. What's the mug this week?
WVU Reed College of Media, which no longer exists because of funding issues.
Yes. But we'll be catching back up with you on Monday, and we'll roll things through, and we'll find out what happened on the weekend. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see y'all. Happy Halloween.
There we go. Yes. All right. So now we bring in this guy, and we find out about Halloween, and we find out what in the wide world of sports is going to be happening at the Casa de Parkhurst when it comes to this particular holiday. Cap, is it really? Do we really call it a holiday? Is that what Halloween is?
I suppose so, but I don't know. I feel like holidays are usually days off, but I don't know.
Yeah. So traditionally, how is the end of October at the Casa de Parkhurst?
Nowadays, quiet. Son's going to a playoff football game, high school. Daughter going to a Halloween party with friends. So I'm going to be here handing out candy with the dog. Hanging out. Probably have some Wake Forest soccer on the TV in the background and just chilling.
Okay. So have there been years in the past where there have been pets that have been dressed up for the holiday, or have they been put behind walls and fences so they don't jump at every ghoul that knocks on the door and rings the doorbell?
The latter. She's very excited to meet everyone. But can be a little intimidating with our 75-pound dog trying to get at you.
Yes.
So no, she's kept away from the front door.
Yes, I definitely can understand that. One other thing before we get into my mentoring questions this week, you and I, sir, have a competition in common tomorrow, and it has to do with the American football. And it is, I believe, your team traveling to my team in Tallahassee, Florida, in a newly renovated stadium where the get-in price is $8 because my football team has not won a conference game since we sued the conference. So, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Wake football's all right. They've had some decent games here and there, and so who knows.
Who knows? Child please, as they say in certain parts of the South. We're a double-digit favorite. I don't buy that for the contents of my wallet and your wallet combined currently. Like, just, whatever's in them, you dump them upside down. I wouldn't take what's in there and send it toward that particular juice box number, considering how we've been awful this year. And, lost to the low down dirty cheaters in South Florida that wear orange. And I can't do anything with that. But anyway, we're a double-digit favorite. I don't buy it. It's going to be a long day. And I will guarantee you, I will send you a DM when you cover. And I will send you a larger DM in all caps if you win, to have us go 0-10 in conference play since we sued the conference. So that's what we have to look forward to, sir. Our commiseration this weekend, I figured that you would be heckling me over the phone when this game is being played.
Well, I think I should now that I know about it, because I didn't previously know about it. I don't follow college football at all. And tomorrow, I don't even know what time the game is, but I'm assuming that I'll be traveling down to Charleston, South Carolina, for a special event on Sunday.
Yes,
during the game.
Yes, and as our MIT, it is the postseason in USL Championship, and this is also part of what I wanted to discuss with you this morning. What has it been like this year, where there has still been kind of gnashing of teeth and headaches, and the kings of the draw last season weren't necessarily that. This year you make it in, you're traveling to Charleston. What has this year been like, looking at Rhode Island Football Club and seeing how you guys have made it into the postseason again?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. I mean, all year it seems like we haven't quite been what we thought we were going to be this year. Tough start to the season with the stadium not ready, and starting on the road, and then just trying to come back from that. And it's been tough. So the last month and a half has been much better, and so that got us into the playoffs, which was big time. It's very tough year 2 to get back into the playoffs. I think if you look at a lot of successful organizations, sometimes year 2, if you have a very successful year 1, is difficult. So, and just looking at in general, coming off of going to the finals, neither of the MLS finalists made the playoffs. Both of the USL finalists came in bottom of the playoffs. So Colorado, I think, came in 8th. In the West, we came in 7th in the East. It's just tough. So to make it in is a good. Is good. That was obviously the goal was trying to get top 4, but as the season progressed, it was okay. Let's make playoffs and let's make a run. So yeah, Louisville and Charleston, we knew we were going to play one of them. They're both top of the league, best in class for sure. So we've got our hands full, that's for sure. But you play the underdog. We did it last year, so it's not impossible. Mm-hmm. I doubt either team was thrilled to get us round 1. So I think that's a positive way to look at it.
Yeah. Well, so then what has made RIFC a certifiable pain in the back of people's fronts in USL Championship? What has Kano done this year that has reinforced the build this year?
Yeah, I think we're tough to play against. I think when we played Louisville and Charleston the last 2 games, well, when we played them each, I think it was their lowest XG of the season. So we don't give up a ton of goals. Our goalkeeper's been fantastic, knock on wood. Koke Vegas has just been unbelievable for us.
Well, that's why you signed him. He was the first dude you signed, right?
Number one, El Capitan. So yeah, he's just been fantastic, and so we're tough to play against. We don't generate a lot of goals. We don't score a lot of goals. We've only scored 1 set piece goal this year, so that's been a struggle. But yeah, Dell's right. They're going to dominate possession, which is fine. We're going to go down there and try and win ugly, which is what you have to do when the other team's better than you, right? I mean, Charleston, obviously, and Louisville are top of the table for a reason. So you never know on any particular day. So hopefully it's our day. And if it's not, we had a good run last year.
Hoping to take that wicked good soccer down there to Charleston to make sure that the Battery have their hands full on the weekend, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, right there, Parky. I'm trying.
I love the accents.
I'm trying. So let me use that as my end point for part of the mentoring conversation that we'll have today. When it comes to consistency and growth, when it comes to mentees, are they mutually exclusive, or can you do one without the other, or can one lead into the other? What I mean by that is, if you're consistent, are you growing? And I would imagine if you're growing, you are consistent. But are they, can you separate them, or does one lead into the other the way that you would think?
I think that if you're consistent, you are growing. Now, growth doesn't always show equally at all times, right? You can be growing and not seeing that change on the field. And, sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for it to click. We use the analogy of the bamboo tree, right? You plant a bamboo tree, and I think it's 6 years, something like that, where you water this thing, or 6 months. I don't know. One of the 6 something. You water it and you don't see anything, and you don't think it's growing. You don't think anything's happening. But what's going on is underneath the soil, it's spreading and it's getting huge down there. And then all of a sudden, very, very quickly, once it just starts to grow, off it goes. And so, if you're being consistent, that growth is occurring, even if maybe you're not getting the results from that growth that you want right away.
When now is that a generational thing? I guess when the level of patience, were folks in your generation more patient, just as impatient as your mentees today? Are mentees today just, it's like, I know that they believe in immediacy and instant gratification and things like that. So where is today's mentee when it comes to the level of patience, when it comes to growth? When you sit there, we can tell folks all day long, hey, look, you're doing great. Your game is growing. You're growing as a person out there on the pitch. It's coming. But are mentees naturally patient these days, or are they like, nah, man, let's go. I want it to be here, but even though it's not something that you can control, how patient are mentees today?
Yeah, it's tough for them, with social media and the comparing. It was much more difficult for us to compare when we were younger, right? You could only compare yourself to who you saw right in front of you, versus now you can compare yourself to any kid on social media. And so, yeah, that's tough. And so when putting in the work is tough, putting in the work and not getting that instant gratification is even tougher. And so, yeah, it's challenging on these kids, because as we know, young athletes, they all grow at different times and they mature at different times and they hit their peaks at different times. So, if you're one of those younger athletes that hasn't grown quickly, hasn't hit their stride yet, and you're putting in that work, it can be really frustrating.
I mean, and I do not envy a growing athlete at all these days because of social media and everything that surrounds them, and trying to sit there and go, well, I know I want to be at this level. I don't think I'm there yet. So when it comes to self-evaluation, where a mentee is looking at themselves and they might be a little self-deprecating or highly critical or self-critical or what have you, how much dialing back do you and Greg have to sit there and go, it's like, it's okay to be self-critical, just don't let it, take over when it comes to your process because of all of these things that are around them. It's like, man, I just don't think I'm growing as much as I do. I think that I should be here when I'm here. It has to do with that whole patience thing. It's just, trying to get them to understand perspective, I would think might be a little hard too.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And, on one hand, you like it because to see some competitive fire is important.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to dwindle that, right? We want kids to be competitive and want to win, want to go out there and perform well and not want to lose. And so you have to balance it like everything. So you don't want to kill that fire and that vibe and tell them to just be okay with how things are going, but to keep pushing. But that's where you try and find the little wins, right? Instead of getting these big wins, right? Can you focus on one little win? Right? Do one little thing good this game. Do one thing that you want to work on in training, and just get that little win. And then you start stacking little wins, and all of a sudden, maybe these little wins can turn into something big.
Michael Parkhurst, Freddie Free Kick, hanging out with us here at MF Parkhurst on the 280-character app, Beyond Goals Mentoring, beyondgoalsmentoring.com, at BG Mentoring on said Twitters.
Very good, John.
I was trying. I was. It's the Mountain Dew in my system. It's starting to kick in. But is it difficult? Is it more difficult to have them appreciate little victories where we can tell, you can tell a mentee, a little victory is still a victory. It's not just a little victory. It's still a victory in the larger scheme of things. Do they instantly buy into that idea of a little victory is a victory, or do you have to kind of sit there and tap them on the back of the head a little bit to remind them that a little victory is still a victory, instead of wanting to focus on the larger picture and the finish line at something like this.
Yeah, it takes reminding, for sure, because they want the big victory, and everybody wants the big victory. And usually you look beyond the little victories, and sometimes you don't even notice the little victories until you're asked about it or you think about it, and you say, oh, yeah, you know what? Hey, I did do a little bit better than last time. I did get a few more juggles than I did. Am I the best juggler on the team? Am I doing what the little kid did before the Ajax game? Like, okay, no, but I'm better than I was yesterday. I'm better than I was last week, and that's what we're striving for, right? Just to compare yourself to yourself and your former self, and are you making those little gains? But that's tough. It's tough for adults. It's tough for kids. Super tough for younger athletes. But that's where we're just trying to remind kids of these little wins. But they need reminding for sure.
Do the parents need equal reminding in these situations?
Yes. Yes.
Do they need more reminding than the athlete?
They need more reminding that success isn't linear and that losses are okay and losses are learning and games aren't going to be perfect. And, not every moment on the field needs to be great. And also they're going to learn quicker from the mistakes they make on the field. So stop coaching them, stop yelling from the sidelines, stop, moving them trying to move them like a chess piece out there, tell them where to go and what to do. Right. Because they learn so much more on their own, figuring it out, and also from mistakes. And I know that's tough as a parent to sit there and know, hey, shoot, your child's going to fail right now. But, it's a little bit easier when they're like 8, 9, 10, 11, and these games don't mean as much than the experience and growing from them. But it's tough for the parents for sure.
But come on, every game is important, Cap. Even if you're 8 and it's there's no points on the line, there's no standings, there's no trophy. Every game's important. You've got to have instant results each and every single time. I mean, that's got to drive people crazy, where the parents are still having to be reminded about perspective in this day and age.
Yeah, totally. It is, and yeah, it's one of the reasons I don't miss the youth soccer sideline at all. I don't. And yeah.
If you could, and I can see and sense your exasperation here. If you could construct the perfect Beyond Goals mentoring, mentor-based youth program initiative to where, yes, the games matter, but you're learning at the same time, how would you construct that idea of, okay, the Beyond Goals Mentoring Youth League, you will learn this, you will learn this, you will do this, and you'll be in a hermetically sealed booth where it is soundproofed and you can't hear anything going on the outside. The second you step through that glass door and the door closes, you can't hear anything. You get to focus on yourself. Does it include a hermetically sealed booth where you can't hear anything from the outside? No parents yelling, no hoof it or anything like that. No, you're out of place, no hitch up your socks and cover your shin guards or anything like that. How would you construct the best learning environment on the field possible? What would that include?
Man, tough question, John. I don't know. I think it's important for athletes to figure out how to block out noise. So as much as it is annoying and not constructive for parents to be yelling on the sidelines, and sometimes detrimental, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It's also a skill for players to figure out how to block that out and not listen to it and turn that into just background noise and focus on the communication out on the field. So if you put kids in a perfect little embryo in a perfect little box, right, when they get out there in the real world, they're likely to fail. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't include that. But it would include for sure having conversations with the parents. And John, we just, breaking news here for BGN. We just signed our first deal with a youth soccer club, and it's going to be exclusive in the Atlanta area because they're the only ones that wanted to and took the jump. So Inter Atlanta, we are going to work with them, and we are going to do a parent orientation in the fall here soon, and then one in the spring as well. And it's definitely something that we're going to talk about. I've never been on an Inter-Atlanta sideline at all. Don't know how the parents act, but I'm just going to assume that it's similar to most others. And so that's definitely one thing that we're going to talk about, because if you can start to change one little sideline at a time, right, you hope that it has an effect elsewhere. So it's definitely something that no one's blind to it. Everybody gets it, right? But it's also become like a joke on social media a little bit, right? Where I've seen things about like, oh, this is the parent freaking out on the sideline of a sports game. Isn't that funny?
No.
Even though they know that why they think it's funny is because they know it's them. They know that they do it. And I get a laugh out of it too, but some of them. But the little kids out on the field getting yelled at by mom and dad aren't getting a laugh out of it.
No. And when I've got like 19 different questions. How far back did these conversations go with Inter-Atlanta, and how did you ultimately decide about this next stage when it comes to these kinds of orientation?
Yeah, we've been talking to them. Initial conversations were probably couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But things change, and different people become involved and whatnot. It for sure helps that Greg and his kids are now with the club, so he's there often. But they're just really well run. They've got some good people on the board, including Mr. Mark Bloom. He's on the board there, but some really good leaders there that value what we bring and what we can provide for the kids and the parents and the club in general. So we've been since probably August really trying to nail something down. We finally got it nailed down. So now now we'll start working with all the teams over there.
Okay, so when you get closer to those dates, obviously let us know about those things, and we may parachute over and sit there and do a story on it for SDH. But I would think that doing something like that, being a tremendous positive, you would hope that parents would listen, because if it's coming from an authority figure, you, Greg, Mark, they know that, the professional athlete side of things. Okay, so this is serious. I have a professional athlete talking to me about this kind of stuff. I need to listen instead of just hearing it from another parent or someone who's in a hierarchy someplace that doesn't have that added attachment to it. I'm hoping that, one, this blossoms into something that covers like 19 planets and 4 solar systems, which you guys get to do. But I'm hoping that this kind of snowballs into an idea of, okay, here's what they're talking about. Listen to this because it's important, and stop the laughing on social media because there's a parent who's out of control, those kinds of things. I'm looking forward to this. I mean, and I would imagine obviously that the two of you are too. What are you most looking forward to with this particular idea?
There's a bunch of different parts to it.
Yeah.
I think that working with the players, working with the teams, will be really fun. I think doing some video sessions with some of the teams will be fun. I think working with the parents will be interesting to see how it goes, what their questions are, how we can help them, not just with us trying to help with behavior on the sideline, but how can we help them, and in turn them helping their children.
Yeah.
Right. What questions do they have about their journey? So all of that, we'll work with a few individuals who need more help than the rest, that can get the help through just the team setting. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of different aspects to it. So we're excited. It's going to be a lot of work, but we're excited for it.
What is, when you have conversations with the parents of mentees, is there one question that they ask you more than any other as a parent? Is there one question they sit there and that you keep hearing over and over again?
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of college questions now, but I think just in general, as far as youth stuff, is more how much is too much is a big question, right? Do I need a personal trainer? Does he need to go to extra trainings. That's a big one. And then a lot of the questions are just around like his confidence is down. I can see it, but you know, they don't want to listen to me type thing.
Okay.
Can you help him with that? Which is a big aspect. And I get it because even my own kid doesn't want to hear it from me.
It's like dad, one of those kind of things where they roll the eyes.
Yeah.
And they may not take it as seriously if it's coming from you outside of the family, they take it more seriously than you inside and under the same roof.
Very true.
I mean, I get that. And it's coming from a genuine place, but because it's coming from under the same roof, you feel like you might be getting piled on a little bit, you know. That's my guess.
Just comes as another lecture. Oh, it's another parent lecture. Here we go.
Yeah. To have those, I give parents, everybody sits and goes, well, do you have kids? I said, no, I have parents and pets. That's what I have. I am fully in awe of parents and what they are able to accomplish on a daily basis, considering there's 9,000 different things you've got to do. You're torn in 9,000 different directions. You've got to sit there and make sure that you're providing the best life for everyone under that roof, and that you're all moving forward as one unit, basically, and that you're all doing the same message and the same things. There are days where I'd sit there and go, I don't know how parents do what they do. I really don't.
It's a huge commitment for the whole family, especially if multiple children. I mean, soccer is worse than baseball as far as travel, especially at a higher level, right? When you get to that higher level, and you know, kids around here in Columbus, they're going to Louisville for a game on the weekend. They're going to West Virginia. They're going over to Chicago. Like, we're talking 4-hour drives, 6-hour drives, 5-hour drives, 3-hour drives to play a game, or to stay overnight for, you know, 2 games over the weekend. Like, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a parent and a night stay at a hotel, right? So if you've got multiple kids, I mean, and just financial, such a big impact. So I get it where, hey, if you're going to make this commitment, you want your kid to be serious. You want your kid to be getting better. You want them to be bought in, right? Otherwise, why am I spending these thousands of dollars, and all of my free time is now devoted to this? So I understand it from a parent perspective. No doubt about it.
One more before you go. Actually, it might be 1 and 1B. Is Hell Is Real going to a third match?
I hope so.
And
I hope so. There was a fun watch, the first one. I enjoyed it. It was a good game. Entertaining. I think Cincinnati's probably the better team. Columbus is missing their new striker, and without him, it's a little bit difficult for them to score more goals. So I do think Columbus will win at home. But
yeah, then you got match day 3. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I'd be excited for. I'd try and get down to match day 3. I know, because I'm disappointed. Of course, the Charleston game had to be at 2:00 on Sunday, so I won't be back in time to see the game here on Sunday. So I'd try and get down to a game 3 in Cincy if possible.
And yeah, because we had Doran on the air yesterday to break everything down, and it's always fun to have this on.
I hope it's not Darlington's last game.
Yeah. And last one before you go, what do you think about what's going on here in Atlanta, coaching search and roster decisions and such?
Yeah, big decisions. It's it's a huge one. It's a huge one. I mean, there's a lot of roster decisions to be made, but yeah, it's interesting. You have to make the hire quick if you want that person to make the decisions. But you don't want to rush it. I get it. I've heard some things on the side here and there. So, yeah.
Oh, you have? Yeah, you have you?
I may have. But yeah, it's a big one. It's and I know that they know it's a big one.
Yeah. So. They do. As always, my friend, thank you for the breaking news, by the way, about Inter Atlanta. That was a nice subtle drop in there. It's like, oh, by the way, breaking news. I didn't have time to hit the sounder.
I'll get you prepped next time.
There we go. Yeah, so Wake and Florida State, that's going to be tomorrow in American football, and you're going to yell at me because you're going to heckle because you covered, if not won, down in Tallahassee. At BG Mentoring, at MF Parkhurst. As always, Cap, it's great to see you. Great to talk about anything and everything, and we'll catch up with you next time. Thanks for dropping by, as always.
Have a great weekend.
There goes our
everybody except L.
There you go. Yes, there goes our mogul in training, Michael Parkhurst. And so that means one thing. It is hour number 2. And I'm gonna start hour number 2 off with the return appearance of Tony Husband with a question that has to do with his documentarianness. I just created a word, documentarianness. And we bring Tony in here to start hour number 2. And Tony, I got in the mail a couple days ago a notification for my my AGM for the Pompey Supporters Trust.
Excellent.
And it is apparently it's the PST AGM and Q&A event. I think they need more initials in that. But Monday, November the 10th and the 17th. The 17th, by the way, is my trust AGM. And when we had, and this is where I pull back the curtain a little bit about your documentarianness, you got to do a good documentary on how chaotic it was with Pompey when everything went and circled the toilet. It was, I'm sure it was a great piecing that jigsaw puzzle together, huh?
Yes, I mean, my goodness, John, that is taking me back a few years to a remarkable spell. I mean, I'll summarize it because the story is so complicated. I mean, if you're ever interested in kind of a tale of what was an overseas investment in a Premier League football club and where things can go wrong, and quite frankly, how incredible the story can become, then the story of Portsmouth Football Club around that time, 2010, is one that you would enjoy and endure in many ways, because it's not necessarily a great story, but it served as a kind of litmus test moment for the Premier League in how ownership is controlled and how the game is managed in the UK, and still really is one of those original precedents for how they must never do it again. And that's actually held since the days of Portsmouth. But yes, I did a documentary about that time, the amount of owners they went through. Owners we're not even sure to this day really particularly exist or knew that they even owned the club at one point. It sent me on a journey from Portsmouth to across the UK, to Jerusalem, to Tel Aviv, and back again. And we produced a 30-minute documentary, which I think all of us that worked on were pretty proud of, as we tried to find the answers as to exactly what happened at that club. I mean, because they'd done everything. They'd done so well. They'd won the FA Cup. They'd spent lots of money. They had some big players like Jermaine Defoe, Sol Campbell, Kanu, you know, just their list of players was sensational. Glenn Johnson, a former England international, and then everything went wrong, and they went all the way down to the bottom of the English pyramid. And now with Michael Eisner, who has been a very good American owner for Portsmouth, they've made their way back up to Championship level, and at some point maybe we'll see Portsmouth back in the Premier League, and I would be delighted to see it.
Full disclosure, when we got the 40-page document, when Eisner was set to purchase, and you know, you have your memorandum of understanding, and hey, here's my plot, and here's my idea. You get this 40-page document, and the boss and I literally were sitting in our kitchen, and I'm poring over this thing with her, and she's like, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "Michael Eisner wants to buy Portsmouth," and you know, and so we go over this thing, and I actually voted no, because there was no mention of what he was going to do with the youth programs and the academy, and how you were going to sustain growth from within with homegrown talent. That was my largest concern at the time, and I voted no. I understood everybody voting yes, but for me, I was like, well, how are you going to build for the future and all this investment? So yeah, I voted no initially, even though he has done what he has done, and I'm still a member of the PST.
Yeah, that's right. And lots of people I know did vote no. I can actually remember I was at the meeting. The media were allowed into a chunk of the meeting, as I recall, outside Portsmouth Guildhall. And Michael Eisner came on the stage and did this presentation, and he told a story just about, you know, building a company and building success and everything. And at the end of it, I'm pretty sure he plastered Walt Disney under the screen, and because of course his connections were all with the Disney company, and I think we're then asked to leave for the section of the meeting that involved the Portsmouth Supporters Trust actually then deliberating and voting on whether they wanted to go with it. I mean, Eisner was quite clear; he didn't want to overpromise. And so by not over-promising, he was pretty blunt about what he would put in and what he wouldn't do. And I think his ownership has shown that, because this has not been some blank check to the Premier League. This has taken a long time, and they would probably admit, and I'm not close to it particularly at the moment, but they would probably admit they got a fair bit wrong on the way to getting a fair bit right. And they've still got some major issues to overcome there. If they're to become a Premier League club again for a start, they'll have to have a new stadium or a remodeled stadium. I think they're going with the latter option because it's so controversial to talk about the thought of leaving Portsmouth's Fratton Park ground. So, they're a club that are often hampered in many ways by ghosts of the past as we talk on this Halloween. But we do hope that they're on the kind of the upswing. I mean, they're not having a great time at the moment in the Championship, it must be said. But it's just a bit of a football miracle, to be honest, that they're there. But never forget the role of some of the guys of the Portsmouth Supporters Trust, the Ian McInneses of this world, to name just one, who kind of just put everything on the line to save the club, and they did it, and it was a remarkable time.
Apple TV's Tony Husband not talking about the MLS Cup playoffs yet in this segment because I decided to go full right turn on us. I know you stopped. So I guess we should actually get into the MLS Cup playoffs. You and Ross joined us last week, and Ross was from his new studio space.
Yeah,
we got to hang out there. You guys got to go to Vancouver to find out what's going on with Vancouver and FC Dallas. What were your takeaways in a dominant performance from Vancouver? It seems like ever since Thomas Müller has parachuted in, they have just been that added little bit for the Whitecaps here in the West.
Yeah, that's right. I think Vancouver have been great. I will say I thought Vancouver looked very good from the beginning of the season. I said they were one of the best teams to watch in MLS as early as March, when they started to look so good in those early rounds of CONCACAF. And then Müller has just added that extra bit of spice, not just what he's producing on the field, which is a lot, by the way, with his goals and assist tally now. I think he's now scored about 5 penalties as well. So I think he's up to something like 8-9 goals for them as well now. Almost in as many games playing as a Whitecap. And, it's just not about that, though. It's about what he's done to the market. It's incredible. He has infused everything. He's galvanized everything around Vancouver. Right now in Vancouver, they are at the moment a soccer town that is also obviously engrossed in the antics of the Blue Jays, which somebody had to explain to me that the Blue Jays are still supported in Vancouver, even though I was a bit bemused by how geographically people in Vancouver support the Toronto Blue Jays, but they do. So they tell me. Huh. So I have them down to win it. I will stick with MLS Cup winners being Vancouver. I think they're the best team in the league at the moment, and I think they've got everything going their way. They're going to be one of the best stories of 2025 if they do win it. As you said, the display over Dallas was dominant. I think they should wrap it up in Dallas tomorrow night in Game 2. Dallas did well to make the playoffs, and I think they looked a little bit like a team who thought they'd done well to make the playoffs, and that is a team that probably knows it's not going to go much further. But you never know, because this is the round now, the second game in the first round. This is where the chaos can begin. So you never know.
And we are believers and lovers and founders of the chaos. We are chaoticians here, quoting Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. You think so then let me ask this. You mentioned Vancouver, they're your favorite. I had LAFC and Vancouver in my final, but I had LAFC going through. What in your mind sets Vancouver over LAFC?
I think across the field, they're stronger. There's obviously no doubting that what LAFC have got up top in Son and Boanga, who've obviously come together to forge a tremendous partnership. But I think that Vancouver can do more and hurt you more in more different ways. They can beat you direct. They can beat you by passing it through you. They're better on the flanks. They've got better men through the center, potentially in attacking positions when other players can join the attack. I just like them more. I watched LAFC the other night, and again, it was a game one, and they did the job. They had to win. I wasn't overly impressed with their win over Austin, though, to be honest. And I do feel that they're reliant on what is their great strength. They can sit in a block. They're playing 5 across the back effectively at the moment, and they've got 2 tremendous players, of course, who in transition can hurt any team, and that could get LA a long way, and it could get them past Vancouver. But if you ask me, if you look at the 1 to 11 of both teams and line them up right now, I would take Vancouver over LA, but it would be a close game.
What about the rest of the West? Are you anticipating, since we're here, are you anticipating fairly chalky behavior in the West as we go forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see Seattle beating Minnesota in game 2. I thought that was a pretty close. There wasn't much in that game.
Have you ever seen more posts and crossbars hit in a PK situation?
Well, that's a good question. Not too often. I've seen probably not as many times we've seen woodwork, but certainly missed. We've seen a few missed penalties. I'm doing the Charlotte-New York game tomorrow, and my word, Charlotte, was struggling to hit penalties last season. But no, I mean, I think that was a pretty close game. It was a pretty ugly game at times, that first Minnesota-Seattle game. I can see Seattle comfortably getting back into that series and winning in game 2 and then setting up a really good game 3. Portland-San Diego is interesting. Portland looked dead and buried on the final day of the regular season. They kind of fell into the wild card game, and then out of nothing, they produced a pretty good display to beat RSL. I didn't see the whole of the game down in San Diego, so I'm going off highlights, but obviously looked a closer game than the one on decision day. But San Diego go to Providence Park, having won there convincingly recently. So and they will be confident, I think, of doing so again. So that'll be interesting to see how that one pans out as well. And LA, I think when they come up against Austin again, I think they have the advantage. I don't rule out that going to a game 3 and LA having to get it done at BMO, but I think they will come through that series.
Then now the actual reason that we have you here, now that we are in the second half with our catch up with Tony Husband, is Charlotte and NYC. No Zaha, and it definitely hurt. That is not me honking my horn, by the way. No Zaha, it hurt. How much did it hurt? I mean, it seemed like Charlotte could not get anything going offensively in this particular matchup, and it came down to a moment from a player from NYC who is really in rhythm right now, and they get the win on the road at the bank, and they're in control for game 2.
They are. With Zaha out, I think a lot of people wondered whether this could be the game of the first game series that could spring something of a surprise, where the team with the home advantage maybe could slip up, and so it absolutely proved to be the case. I mean, if Zaha had been available, I think most people would have backed Charlotte, one of the best home teams in this league, to continue that run and take game 1. But without him, they stunk for about half an hour, really. They didn't do much at all. And NYC took advantage of it. Tactically, they played it really well. I thought Pascal Janssen did a great job with the way he lined his team up. Justin Hack playing in a kind of back 4 and then evolving into a midfielder, adding an extra player into the middle of the park, outnumbering Charlotte in key areas. That helped. And there was just no spark, really, from Charlotte. And I was a bit surprised because Dean Smith said after the game, he felt that his team didn't really cope terribly well with kind of the pressure of it being, a home playoff game. And I mean, there's veteran experience right across that team. So I don't quite know how they could not cope with that. But clearly missing Zaha was a big issue. Abada, who came in, unfortunately looked woefully out of touch and out of form, like a player, I guess, who hasn't had that many minutes recently would be. So, they'll bring Zaha back. Whether they'll change much more, I'm not sure that they will. But you can't rule them out. And the key difference perhaps for this game is Wilfred Zaha fouled 125 times in the Major League Soccer season. And on a tight, confined field at Yankee Stadium, I just wonder whether one of those inevitable fouls he's going to get in and around the 18-yard box is going to lead to a set piece. And a set piece kind of moment could be the kind of thing that can get Charlotte back into this series.
I'll go ahead and I'll say I'll put air quotes up and go 18-yard box in air quotes. I'll go ahead and do it that way. I remember Peter Vermes measured it once, and And he came up with the actual measurements. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but it was not what we traditionally have.
It's tight. Let's put it that way. There.
Yes, it is tight. And when you look at Charlotte in this particular instance, how much of an absence is Pep Biel not being around?
Well, he's turned out to be massive. I mean, this is a player who I think, last year had a role, but was not. I don't think that he was quite as important as he's been this year. He was producing. Let's not forget, if we go back to kind of, March, April time, people were talking about Biel's form and contribution as being at an MVP level in this league. He's been hampered twice now by injury this season. They definitely lose something when he's not there. He's got a beautiful touch, a beautiful way of threading midfield into attack. His goals and assist ratio was very good when he was fully fit. And it also meant that everybody looked at Charlotte and wasn't just saying, well, it's just Zaha. Now I feel like we are a little bit falling into the trap of looking at Charlotte and basically pinning everything on Zaha to be the difference maker. And I mean, he's had a good year, Wilfred, in amongst some, continual questions that he seems to have to answer about whether he looks grumpy and his attitude. And, there was the red card on the final day of the season, which, was an absolute, what a blow for them, for him to get that red card on that final day of the season, to then miss the first game. I mean, that could ultimately play a significant role in where their season's destiny ends. But, you don't want to pin too much on one player. But so the absence of Biel, for me, has been pretty big for them.
I found it. Peter, when he measured the turf up at Yankee Stadium, he said it was 68 by 106. So that was what Peter Vermes said when he actually walked it off that one time. So the Peter Vermes legend had it at 68 by 106.
Yeah. Maybe, we'll have to check Peter's pacings, because I'm sure they say it's got up to 70, don't they?
Yes, 70. Well, I mean, it's north of 65, so you round up and go 70. So it's like you go past halfway, you round up. When you are calling a match in a basically, as I phrased it one time, I said it's like fighter jets and a washer dryer. When you're calling a match that is almost like pinball, how much of a challenge is it to convey the message of what's going on, not get lost in all of the back and forth and the pinballs and the volleys and everything? How challenging is it in a space like Yankee Stadium to call a match at Yankee Stadium?
I think when any game, whether it's in Yankee Stadium or elsewhere, when a lot happens and as you say, a lot is pinballing back and forth, I think in my role as a commentator, I would always say, look, you're a television commentator, so people can see this. So you don't need to say every single person who's touching the ball, particularly if possession is constantly going back and forth and it's scrappy or whatever. Sometimes less is more, and the viewer can watch this. If you're doing it for the radio, it's probably more of a challenge. You're going to be churning out those minutes or words per minute, at a heck of a rate. But no, I think that would be always the attitude I would take towards it. You're there to comment and provide the extra words to add to what people are seeing. If it's all just crazy stuff, it's like whenever there's a melee in a game, I just tend to actually do what the referees do. I step to one side, let's just let it unravel. It'll soon calm down, and then we can talk about it. And I think John Freeman did much the same at Bank of America Stadium when it happened there. And he was almost kind of smiling at the end when he was just waiting for everything to calm down. So I think that's the kind of view. But I would take that in any commentary, whether it be at Yankee Stadium or elsewhere.
All right, so quickly before you get out of here, let's take a peek at the other matchups in the East. Chicago and Philly, no Orahel for Chicago. We talked about that in hour number one. We had Max Anderson, their radio play-by-play guy, on yesterday. Nashville and Messi and Friends, that's going to go to Geodis, and then Hell is Real. What about those other three?
I think Columbus can take it to game 3 against Cincinnati. I think that's got the makings of an epic series. I think Columbus have got better recently, but they're clearly, you just think what this team could be if either Abu Ali perhaps had been fit, but you just think if Cucho was still there, what Columbus would look like right now if they had that clinical cutting edge. Because for me, that's really obviously what they're missing. They've got so many of the same parts that have done so well for them, but they just don't look as likely to score goals. That will be a problem, but I think they've got enough to get to a game 3. And then Nashville, Miami. Well, Miami have won 6 straight now against Nashville. So have Nashville got something left in the tank and something left to try it and turn it around and take it to a game 3? I think it's going to be very tough for them. I think there's something now about Messi and this Miami group that is just a little bit more fixed than perhaps even they were last year on making sure that there's no mistakes in the playoffs this year. They're not going to repeat the Atlanta experience. I would favor Miami to get through, although it's not out of the question that Nashville can beat them at home. Philly, Chicago, again, I think it has the makings of a game that could go to a game 3. But Greg Berhalter, has got some selection challenges as well. So I think, it's a really interesting weekend of games because there's an argument for saying several of these matches can be wrapped up in 2. But there's also, you can easily look at how important home field advantage is in this league. And I felt it would be, particularly in the East in these playoffs. And there's plenty of scope that we go into a completely wild match 3 weekend next weekend. And I think that's highly likely with a few of them.
And it's you and Ross, right?
It will be me and Ross, indeed.
All right. So if my math is correct, 342 kick. It's the 68 by 106. Is that accurate, sir?
That is absolutely spot on. 342, the first of I think it's 4 games we have tomorrow. So it's a great day to stick on your television and you can just roll from one piece of drama into the next.
And the multi-screen experience at 9:30 with Portland, San Diego, and Dallas and Vancouver.
That's right.
As always, my friend, it's great to talk to you. Great to see you. Can't wait to hear the call with you and Ross on the weekend for NYC and Charlotte. You know that you know where the key is under the mat. You know where the garage door opener is. You know you can crash at any time.
Thank you very much, John. And to return to the very beginning of our conversation, the apt way to finish it, I think, will have to be to say, play up Pompey.
Atta boy. That's the man right there. And we will keep an eye on that as well. The AGM, my all hands on deck meeting is coming up in 18 days. Be safe, my friend. Safe travels. We'll catch up with you soon.
Take care.
All right. Tony Husband from AppleTV. That's always fun. And literally when you sit there and it's like, okay, so what can I talk to Tony about outside of everything else? And then when I saw that he had done the documentary on Portsmouth and the sale, I'm like, ooh, let's go there. So speaking of going places, let's catch up with our Madison Cruz on the 1s and 2s because it is 10:22, and therefore, since it is the 1s and 2s, we bring in Maddie on a Friday. So what is up with Maddie on a Friday?
Doing interviews.
Oh,
a whole bunch of interviews.
What are we interviewing for here?
Since we are around the corner from everywhere,
yes,
the Gwinnett getting ready as things get set there. And big news out of Georgia Gwinnett too. Both the men's and women dropped this morning. Both the men's and the women's are selected as the top seed in the CAC Soccer Championship. And they're also hosting as well, both men's and women's. So pretty cool stuff.
Okay, so the Grizz, so is everything's going to be up at the home of the Grizz up there off of 316 this weekend?
Up in Lawrenceville. Not this weekend, next weekend.
Next weekend. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So keep an eye out for the GGC Grizz review and the Grizz report and all of the Grizz updates that we do as we get you ready for everything going on in the postseason now. As conferences are kind of winding down in college and getting ready for all the activity there. Where have you been recently in the colleges? What have you been calling recently? Everybody?
Yeah, a lot. A lot of them. I've been on Georgia Gwinnett has been the biggest one this season for sure. Mercer's been a couple. I've done a couple Clayton State. I'm trying to go through Oglethorpe, done a couple doubleheaders there. KSU women's, and then Georgia State men's and women's, which another big one, me and Jason will be on the call next week on Tuesday. And that's a big one, is Georgia State hosting Georgia Southern.
Ooh, State and Southern. So
yeah, it could be, and also it could have clear implications for tournament stuff too, especially with hosting and seating and how that rolls as well. So fun stuff.
Yes. So keep an eye out for everything there. And Red Clay Soccer Report, powered by our friends at Nofo Brewing, will be our lightning round and get you ready for everything here in the last weekend of this activity, getting you ready for conference tournaments as everybody's easing in and easing out. So let me see if I've got all my conferences right that we try to cover on a weekly basis on Red Clay. The Sun, the Peach Belt, the SoCon, the Appalachian, the Sun Belt, the Gulf South, the SAA, and the Southern States, and then we have what's going on in the CAC with Georgia Gwinnett. I think that's it. Did I get everybody?
I think you did.
That's crazy. The fact that there's like 10 or 11 different conferences that are impacted here in the state of Georgia, and we always like to do a lightning round with that on Red Clay Soccer Report. The routes this week will be a trip to Prague, Czechoslovakia, where we get to catch up with the Prague Raptors, and how reaching out on LinkedIn gets you plugged in and get you to have conversations with folks on this side of the Atlantic. So that's what you can listen to on Sunday. We got playoffs this weekend in Major League Soccer. I don't know, Maddie, if you've heard of these, that we have postseason here in Major League. I know, strange. We're now heading into match day 2s, and I wanted to get your thoughts on all of the matchups in the MLS playoffs. So where are you tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Academy.
Okay. So where are you by 3:30 tomorrow afternoon?
My apartment, hopefully.
Okay, because at that point, we had Tony Husband on before you came in here on Friday. Tony and Ross, they're going to be calling NYC and Charlotte. Last time out, NYC went to the bank, got the win, 1-0 lead in the series. Dean Smith felt compelled to sit there and yell at the fact that he was playing on a Tuesday night. And I would remind Coach that that happens. And, sir, when you were coaching overseas, I believe there were moments where you had to play in the midweek coming off of a weekend as well. So this should not be something that is a pop quiz to you, sir.
Yeah.
NYC at the 68/106, as we did find the measurement from Peter Vermees. The U12 futsal pitch, they're actually going to play there. When you look at this one, let me get the juice boxes here, and I will let you know what the juice boxes are here for game number 2.
I know it's nice since I missed soccer over there. I now actually get to be part of the juice boxes.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of how we're wired here. You know, we got to catch everybody up on everything before the weekend starts. So
my coffee's cold. I'm sad.
Well, do you need to go heat it up or something?
I'll heat it up later. It's fine.
Okay. NYC at the 68/106 is a -139. 90-minute draw is a +280, and Charlotte is a +334. They get Zaha back. What do you think about this one to kick off the massive Saturday in Major League Soccer?
LAFC takes it.
Well,
I think they get it done. And I don't think it goes to penalties.
Okay.
I think it gets done in the game. I think it'll be back and forth. I don't think it's going to be a slam dunk for NYC.
Yeah.
But I think losing Pepe Biel as well, I think he was a huge key to that team. And I think you're seeing that he was a huge key to that team, and he's not there. They're really missing him. I think getting Zaha back, I think that'll give him a bit of a spark. I do. I don't think it'll be enough. It's already difficult when you go in, especially in these best of 3. I mean, we know it from last season as well, like how difficult it is, especially too, if you're the home team coming into a situation and you gotta win. Normally it's the other way around. That's what it's been like for most of the playoffs this season in particular. The home teams have won. So now they're kind of coming into game 2. They're like, yeah, we want to get it done in 2 games, but we also know that we have the advantage going back home in game 3. Charlotte now doesn't have that. Charlotte has to win this game against NYC in order to even make it a 3. They have to do it to either go back to Bank of America. And from what I saw against NYC, they were clearly the better team. They were getting more opportunities. They were more on the ball. They were finding those moments. They were being a threat. And Charlotte kind of took a back seat a little bit. I didn't think that they came out the way that they normally have. And that could change with Zaha. That totally could. But I do think that NYC gets it done because that is a very difficult place to play. And I think NYC gets it done.
Rubiel Vasquez is the man in the middle. Kyle Atkins, Kevin Klinger are your ARs. Sergi Boyko, our man Serge, is the 4th. Carol Ann Chenard and Tom Supple are upstairs. 5:30, which translates into a 5:42 Eastern time kick. Chicago and Philly, no Orahel. And, I'm sure that Chicago would have liked to have put Philly in Orahel if he was going to be able to play here in match day 2. John Freeman in the middle, Corey Rockwell, Adam Garner, your ARs. Chris Penso is your fourth. Fotis Bazakos and TJ Zablocki are upstairs. Chicago favored on the plus side at a plus 110. 90-minute draws a plus 265. The Union on the road are a plus 208. What say you?
This one's hard. Oh my God, this one's
how hard is it?
It's difficult, especially with Ojeda like being out with the red card. That's rough. Which, listen, I personally think it's a bit much for the red. I personally, I think you can justify it in the sense that, you know, there is an arm and it could go to the face, especially with the way Ojeda came in. But I don't know. I don't know if it rises to that level for me. I think, who was involved in it?
Well, it was Gutierrez and Wagner.
Wagner, yes. I think Wagner sold it. That's what you're supposed to do. He sold it.
No.
I mean, listen, hey, you know what? It might not win an Emmy, but it definitely won over in that regard.
No Emmys.
I thought Gutierrez, though, handled that situation very well. He handled it very well. Very good. But yeah, Ojeda didn't need to come into it, and obviously he gets the red, so they'll be missing him. I don't know, though. This is one for me where I keep going back and forth. Like, because for me, obviously I would say Philly. As much as I don't want to, I say Philly. But the way that they responded and the way that they acted and the way that they played after Chicago was able to come back and get the one goal to make it a 1-goal game, then to come back and tie it up. I don't know. It makes me think that, you know, maybe something could happen. And especially at home, Chicago can get it done. Like, Chicago could do it. And like, because if Chicago goes up early in this game or goes up 2 or whatever it is, how does Philly respond? And I didn't like the response that I saw. I didn't like it. It didn't sit well. And that's not what you need to have going into this game. And I could be proven wrong. I think it's going to go to another penalty shootout. I think a penalty shootout will decide it. I wish I could tell you who I think is going to win the penalty shootout. I don't. But you know what? For the sake of it, I'm going to say Chicago gets it done. YOLO.
You just want chaos, and you want.
I do want chaos because I want this series to go to a game 3. I really do. And this is just me because I literally am watching and I'm enjoying the chaos. I want it to go to a game 3, and I think it could. I really do. I really like the way Chicago Fire is playing right now, especially with what Greg Berhalter's been doing over there. I think they're playing a really good style of football. I think Kuipers is incredible. I think he's a very, very good player, especially up top for them, finding those moments. You're going to be missing another key piece for them too in that attack as well. But I mean, I don't know. This one's interesting, but I do think it'll go to a game 3. I do think it'll happen.
All right. 7:42 kick. Messi and friends travel to Geodis. I imagine that they are probably not getting to park on the Speedway. They get probably to drive up a lot closer than the rest of us. And Nashville hosting down a game in the series. Messi and friends coming to town right now. Nashville is a slight underdog. Basically, the juice box purveyors have thrown a blanket over the whole thing. In the composite, Nashville is a plus 149, so slight underdog to Messi and friends at a plus 144 in the composite. Draw is a plus 278, and it is Alan Chapman who is in the middle for this one. Alan Chapman gets to do Nashville and Messi and friends game number 2. Andrew Bigelow, Gianni Facchini, your ARs. Izmir Pekmich is your 4th. Armando Villarreal and Robert Schaap are upstairs. So, Alan Chapman for Messi and friends and Nashville SC.
That one actually might breed chaos. I think this one will be tight. If Nashville's got to step it up from that first game, they did not look good in that game against Miami. Miami was able to cakewalk and just come in and get the win. Nashville's got to step it up, in my personal opinion. I think that especially at home, you have to. Like, I mean, you got nothing to lose at this point. You have to keep your playoff hopes alive. I think it'll be back and forth. I think you'll see Sam Surge. I think you'll see Hani Mukhtar get on the board, but I don't think they're coming away with the win. I think Miami gets it done in 90, and I think they will be moving on to the next round.
2 at 9:30, so it has to be a multi-screen experience. Portland hosting San Diego at Providence Park.
Yeah, that's another one.
9:42 kick. Drew Fisher in the middle. Michael Barwagon, Leah's Arfa, your ARs. Marcus de Oliveira is your fourth. Jeff Gamble and Jonathan Johnson are upstairs. The numbers currently, it is Portland at a plus 150, slight underdog at home to San Diego FC, who's a plus 142. Your draws a plus 279. Maddie Cruz, what say you?
San Diego. They're
Okay.
winning it in game 2. They're winning it. Portland, again, I mean, you look at that game, it was not a good showing for them. Well, hold on. Let me rephrase. I think I'm getting my games confused. Let me rephrase. Let me track it back a little bit. Sure. This one is, again, interesting. You get the red card in this game. That's the other thing you have to think about. Sorry, I was getting my mind confused. Words are coming back. We're restarting again.
You got it.
You get the red card for Portland, which I'm trying to remember when that happened in the game. Because if I remember correctly, it was early on, correct?
Efforting. Hang on. So please continue your thought, and I will find the answer.
Okay. Well, I want to say that it happened pretty in the closer to the end of the first half.
Okay, hang on. Like I said, I'm getting there. Hang on.
If not, then it was early in the second. I could be totally wrong though.
Forey had 2 fouls basically in a minute, and he was the 60th.
That's what it was. Yep, yes. That's what it was.
66 minute for Forey. So yeah, that was.
And that's unfortunate that they're missing him too, especially back at home. This one, I'm interested to see if you get Lorenz back. I'm curious if that's going to be the conversation, if he's going to be back within the team. Because if he's back, that could give a boost, and San Diego could totally get it done on the road. San Diego's a really interesting one too. I think in the way you look at what they've done this season. I mean, obviously you talk about what they have done. It's been insane. And their away record is so much better than their home record.
I know.
Their away record is 12 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses, which is why I'm going to say San Diego gets it done in 90 minutes. I think Portland will put up a fight. I mean, they were able to find a response to that goal too. They were able to find a response, and maybe they could have found another one if they had, 11 men on the field. Maybe that could have been happening. But I mean, even then, all those goals came in the first half. I'm curious if maybe that happens again. If Portland can ramp it up in the second and find something, maybe you're looking at an interesting situation. But I don't know. I think San Diego knocks this one in, and I think it gets done in 2.
Yeah, I think Chucky Lozano might be that added factor.
Lozano, I messed up. That's me. It's Lozano. Guys, it's the morning. My coffee's cold.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Ricky wants to know if Alan Chapman's going to get the Ken Williamson treatment. The only way that Alan Chapman would get the Ken Williamson treatment if it was such a monumental mistake of biblical proportions that was the size of your average Qatari skyscraper. That might be the only time that you would see something like that happen to a referee in Major League Soccer. But what I would do in these situations, if you have an official that does something like this, keep an eye on their next couple of matches. Do they just go to VAR? Are they AVARs? Do they get pulled from center assignments? So that would be my indicator for the frowning by pro and by Major League Soccer of a performance of a particular individual.
I think that one too, and that's a hard one because it's Nashville and Miami.
Yeah.
It's not a rival, but it kind of feels like one. And especially with two teams that are known, especially I think with Miami, you obviously have the star power that you have too, but also the ability as well to be able to draw fouls, to earn fouls in that regard. Nashville too, they're not afraid to get their hands a little dirty either. Like, it's going to be a testy one, and it's going to be about managing the emotion early on as well and handling the game and making sure that you're keeping things at a low bar because it's already going to be heated. Nashville's going to be wanting a win. They're going to do everything they can. Miami, they're not going to let up. They're already mad because they got knocked out by us last season. They don't want that again. They're going to come in and they're going to want to knock this out in game 2. They're going to want to put it home early. And I do think they can. I think they'll let in a couple of goals because, again, defensively, they have not been solid defensively. But they've scored a lot of goals, and that helps. So, and I think that they'll be able to outscore Nashville.
Yeah. Dallas and Vancouver, 9:42 Eastern kick in Frisco. Dallas obviously coming in as the 2-7. And it is Tori Penso in the middle, Brooke Mayo, Catherine Nesbitt, your ARs, Alexis De Silva is your fourth, David Barry and Fabio Tovar are upstairs. No surprise.
Where is Philip? Where is Philip?
Let's see if Philip is busy this weekend. Philip is not in the weekend assignments in the in the Major League Soccer Cup. He is not. He is not.
That's my man.
He is not a part of the discussion. Serge is. He's the fourth in NYC and Charlotte, but Philip is not a part of the discussion.
Philip.
I know. So Vancouver a -109 in Frisco, draws a +281. FCD is a +241. I think it gets done in Frisco.
I think so too. I think Vancouver. Yeah. Vancouver's just so good. I think they're they're a really solid team. The way they took care of business, especially in leg 1, I think they'll get it done immediately in leg 2. I think it'll be the same. Yeah, I think it'll be the same.
Sunday, we've got 2. I'm going to save Mondays for Monday because we'll talk about what happened Saturday and Sunday on Monday as well. Hell is Real version 2. It is a match day 2, 6:42 kick at the Death Star in downtown Columbus. Crew is a -120. Draws a +291. FC Cincinnati is a +264. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is in the middle. Nick Uranga, Ian McKay, your ARs. Ricardo Montero Araya is your 4th. Timothy Ford is your VAR. And Mike Kampminer joins him upstairs. Timothy Ford is your VAR.
This one, I'm fully confident in the fact that I think Columbus is going to win.
Yeah.
Because I think when you look at what happened in that last game, it was a brilliant goal from Kevin Denke. I think he is an incredible player. Obviously, he's a star talent in what you have up there. I think Evander is also a player to watch out for. I could see this one being a 2-1. I could see it being a crazy one. I think Columbus can get it done at home. I think they'll send it to a game 3. This is the one where I think Columbus, again, I think what was their downfall in that game against Cincinnati is you just had a lot of individual performances that were just not up to par with what they had been. But I think that, the spark of being home and everything, they'll get back on track. I really like Columbus. I really think that they're a really solid team. This season, I think it's been a little kind of up and down in those things, but I do think they will come away with the win against Cincinnati that day as well. I think they will.
Late night, 8:57 kick on MLS Season Pass, Apple TV, FS1, and Fox Deportes is your last match of the weekend. Austin hosting LAFC in the 3-6. And in that one, Joe Dickerson's in the middle at Q2. Ryan Graves and Logan Brown, your ARs. Malik Badawi is your 4th. Kevin Stott and TJ Zablocki are upstairs. So Joe Dickerson gets to manage Austin and LAFC at Q2. Austin is a dog at a +269, draws a +266. LAFC looking for the Juicebox purveyors to take care of it in 2 at a -114.
So I listened in a little bit. Tony Husband too. I kind of agree with them in that matchup against LAFC in Austin, where I didn't. It was okay from LAFC. It was fine, but it wasn't the LAFC that I think we've seen the last couple of games. It felt kind of just okay, cool. That's kind of my emotion with it. I honestly, I thought Austin was going to find an equalizer. I really did. I was ooh, they could find one. So, and with that being said, that's why a part of me is I think if Austin can find something early and keep up that energy, especially at home, they could send it to a game 3. But I don't know. This is another one where I just don't know. For the safer answer, you know what? I'm going to say it's going to be Austin. They'll send it to a game 3 just because, again, I want chaos. I'll root for chaos. But I don't know. This is one where I could see it going literally every direction. I could see it being a tie going to penalties. I could see it. LAFC comes in and they just knock it out. I could see Austin coming in and really just riding on the momentum because I don't know. LAFC really didn't look like the LAFC I think we've seen the last couple of games, especially as they ended the regular season. So I don't know. But again, I do love Son Heung-min, so I do think he's incredible. Also, too, I forgot to mention for Columbus, Abu Ali, I think is a really good signing for them. I really am excited to see him back into play, especially if Columbus gets through.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he's a solid striker. He was fun to watch. He's a really fun striker.
And nursing the injury, they got to keep an eye on Wassam Abu Ali and figure out if he can make it into the next. If they make it into the next round, is he healthy enough to play? Next Pro is in conference finals, and it is the 1 and the 2 in the East, and it is the 3 and the 5 in the West. So it doesn't matter who wins in the East, they're going to host, because you have a 3 and a 5 in the West, you have a 1 and the 2 in the East, 1 and 2, and it is 1 on Saturday and 1 on Sunday. Red Bulls 2, Union 2 tomorrow, 7 o'clock. So 7:03 kick, actually at in Harrison, New Jersey, at the big home of the Red Bulls. It's not at Montclair. It's actually going to be at SI Stadium.
Oh, that's awesome.
JC Griggs is the man in the middle. Jeremy Smith, Nicholas Seymour, your ARs. Eric Burton is your fourth in a battle of 1 versus 2. Red Bulls had 17 wins and 58 points in the regular season. Union had 15 wins and 58 points in the regular season. And they've made it through to this point where you're looking at the opening round. Red Bulls knocked off Core and Fire 2 to get to this point. Union 2 beat FC Cincinnati 2 and Huntsville City Football Club to get to travel to Harrison, New Jersey, Eastern Conference Final. You going with Michael Bradley and Red Bulls 2, or are you going with the team that angers you so on the second level with Union 2?
Oh, I'm looking back at the other matches. Oh, Red Bulls. By far Red Bulls. Sorry. I all you had to do was show me the the matches and how they won. That's how I know that they're winning. Because with Philadelphia, I mean, you look in the last couple of games for them. I mean, you look at that matchup to October 5th to close things out. That game was a 4-3 win against NYC at home. Again, against Cincinnati, it was a 2-1. And then against Huntsville, it was just a 1 goal. You have Red Bulls coming in here scoring 5 goals against Carolina Core, 5 goals against Chicago Fire. There's a reason why they're number 1 in MLS Next Pro. I do think Red Bulls get it done and they'll move on for sure.
Okay. Western
good this season. They've been very good.
Western Conference, it is 3 versus 5. Rapids knocked off Whitecaps, and then they knocked off the Town. They went on the road to take out the number 2 seed, so that's how Colorado got there. And then Loons 2 beat Monarchs, and then they went to St. Louis City 2. They went to Energizer Park, knocked off the top seed to get to the Western Conference Final. 3 and 5 on Sunday in that matchup. No juice boxes yet. Brandon Stevis, the man in the middle. Bruno Rizzo, Stephen Millowan, your ARs, and Justin St. Pierre is your fourth. What say you?
I want chaos. I'll do the underdog. Let's go Minnesota.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. So so you're saying a 5 goes through, and then they have to pack up and travel and go to probably Harrison, New Jersey, to take on. Well, it's going to be either to Chester or to Harrison to take on the winner in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I want chaos.
Okay, so there we go. So that was why I wanted to roll through that with you as well and find out what you thought about MLS Next Pro. I know that we caught up with you and Jason after the Chris Henderson media availability, and we have content that is out on the network from the two of you. Once again, you hopped on afterward live. You got to kind of give your instant play-by-play. And, right now it's that key time of year where everybody's looking at the papers and they're sitting there and saying, and rumors are plenty of this guy and this person and this person and this person and this player and this player. Now that you've had a couple of days to kind of think about what Chris Henderson said, and it's kind of rattled around in your brain a little bit, what else sticks in your mind after the Chris Henderson media availability?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the same things that I even said in that one too, for sure. Just I think the idea of, the academy as well, and really emphasizing the growth of that. I think when you bring in Javier Perez and what he's done with the academy, and especially with that system, and especially when you look at the twos and what Jose Silva has done, especially looking ahead from last season and this season too, I even put Steve Cook in there as well, because a lot of that too is working together in that regard and developing that talent. And then also with Jose Silva taking over, I mean, you saw a spark. You saw so many young players step up. And I think it still sticks with me, the idea that you want to help these players, these young academy players, these young homegrowns get forward, and you don't want to block their entry, especially if they're ready to go to a first team level. And I think that's the biggest thing to look at. You've seen so many this season for the first team. Luke Brennan's a huge one, which again, sending all the love and praise to Luke Brennan right now. Absolutely. That is absolutely like, that's so scary. And I'm so happy that he is okay and he's going to be healthy and he's good. Because that is terrifying. So all prayers and love to him right now in that regard. But he had an incredible season with the U20s as well, going to that World Cup. Cooper Sanchez is also a huge one. He's going to the World Cup as well for the U17s. You also have, I think, young keepers. You have, I put Jaden Hibbert in that as well. I think he's a young keeper you saw stand out in that regard, having that time with the twos and then coming up to the first team, stepping up towards the end. You have Jonathan Ransom, who's now got a homegrown deal. You got Donaldson, also got a homegrown deal. You have so many of these young players who are now stepping up and making that transition. Dominic Chonqui is another one. Like, you have a lot of these players who are really competing and they're pushing, and that's what you want. Like, you want that healthy competition. I think not only for your younger players, but also for your veterans. You want that pressure. You want that competition. That's something that helps fuel the team. It makes everybody work harder. And especially when you have a player that is ready to get real minutes with the first team, you don't want to block that path. And I think that's a big thing that Chris Henderson talked about. And I really am excited to see, especially with the talent that you're getting from the academy, from the second team, and transitioning to the first team. I mean, because guys, listen, if you're not watching the academy streams, you're missing out. You're actually missing out. And I'm telling you right now, you're missing out. Like, it's not hard. Go to ATLUTD.com/live tomorrow. You can listen to myself, Jason Longshore. I believe Joe Freihofer is also coming on for one of them as well.
Wow.
I know. I think he's color with me one time. So we'll figure it out. I believe is what is happening.
Maddie and the Hoff doing academy. That's great.
Dynamic duo again. We're back. But it's one where if you're definitely not watching, you should be, because that's the future of Atlanta United. I mean, you have so much talent. I mean, so much. Fred Bond is one that comes to mind. Faki SC is another one. Brilliant, by the way. He had a hell of a game in that other one, like last week. Oof, he was killing it. Josh Kwan's another one. You have so many of these young players. Didi Cibrian and then Santiago Pita played in that last game too. And having that experience as well, and having that second team experience, then stepping up as well. That's another one. I think Elon Ettinger is also really fighting for minutes too. He's a great center back. You have so many of these young players who are stepping up and who are making their case of being like, I want to be a part of this and I can. And it's definitely, if you're not watching, you totally should be, because this is the future of Atlanta United. Your Caleb Wileys, your George Bellows, your Dominic Chonquis, your Luke Brennans, they all started at the academy. Even Efrain, even Noah Cobb, all at the academy. They started there and they worked their way up through every single level and they made it there. Like that's something to be said. And even too, you have someone like Aiden Torres who went through every single level. RDS, went to the academy, went to the second team, homegrown with the first team now, which that's not a teaser for an upcoming article that's coming out maybe today.
Yeah.
Who said that?
I know, really?
No, but this is why the academy streams are so important, because you get to learn so many more about these new players. And it's so fun. Like, they're so fun to be a part of. And you're watching the future. You're watching the future of Atlanta United. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome to watch. And, it's great because, like, you could see one of these kids step up too. I mean, with how many homegrowns and how many young players you're seeing from the academy step up in so many other MLS teams. Alex Freeman is a huge example of that. He is competing for minutes. He is competing to now be with the U.S. men's national team. I would argue that he has an opinion to be on the roster for the World Cup because he's that good. Like, it's one of those things where you're seeing so much of this homegrown talent and the emphasis of it, especially in a salary cap league like MLS. You need these players. You need them to be competing for minutes. You need them to be pushing into the first team and to the starting lineup, because that is going to help you not only with your salary cap, with everything you have to do there. It saves you a lot of money, but also too, it's what it's built on. Like, the storytelling, the element of this, that's what makes MLS, in my opinion, so unique. Because of how much homegrown talent you have, because of how much of an impact you have of these younger players who can step up and be huge, huge factors in a team. And that was my spiel about academy and everything. But that was still my biggest takeaway from what Chris Henderson talked about. And I think it's going to be really fun watching, I think, Academy and even the twos next season as well. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really great.
Yep. And so it's you, Jason, and the Hoff in some combination and permutation. What are the times tomorrow?
10 is the first one, and which means 12, around 12 would be the second one.
Yeah. Because they don't take the full half hour in between games.
No.
It's like they trot you out, they get you warmed up, and then you're out the door.
If you're lucky, you maybe get 20 minutes, maybe around that time, if you're lucky.
Yes, if you're
That
lucky.
depends on if the game runs long, the first one, though.
Yeah. 7 minutes, like it's 7 minutes of added time.
Yeah, then you're like panicking. You're like, we got to start the next game.
Yes. So as always, it's great to have you come and crash in the final half hour when you can on a Friday.
Absolutely.
And go warm up your coffee.
I'm going to. I will be. And then I have to do a couple more interviews. So we need to have it warmed up.
Yes. So go warm up your coffee, go do your interviews, and keep an eye out for the GGC content that is coming up on the SDH network coming up in short order. Maddie, as always, great to see you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
There goes Maddie. And so Maddie's going to go warm up her coffee, and she's going to go do Georgia Gwinnett stuff. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that and all of our college content that we have here on the network, whether it's Clayton State, whether it's Oglethorpe, whether it's Emory, whether it's Georgia Gwinnett, whether it's Georgia State, and everybody else. Southern, SCAD, North Georgia, who is ranked nationally in the NAIA, Georgia Southwestern, Middle Georgia, Clayton State, Columbus State, GCSU in Milledgeville. It is Albany State on the women's side, Dalton State, Life, Thomas Point, Bruton Parker, ABAC, Mercer, Truett McConnell, who won the Appalachian Conference, by the way, Sunbelt, Gulf South, SAA, and all points in between. So that's all. That's the college content that we do here on a weekly basis. So, all right, let's get you through the news and the things that you kind of need to keep an eye on as we wrap up yet another week. Thanks to Maddie. Thanks to Tony Husband. Thanks to Michael Parkhurst. Thanks to Bart Keeler for dropping by here on a Friday. All right. So Orlando City, we mentioned yesterday that Pedro Gillespie is going to be looking for a new home. That we know. But at the same time, there was rumors running rampant about Martin Ojeda, and that has apparently been quashed this morning. There are reports saying that Orlando City is not messing around. They're going to exercise the option through the end of 27 when it comes to the Ojeda contract. So we'll keep an eye out on those numbers. Open Cup this weekend. Just to let you know what's going on. You've got Open Cup this weekend, and you're going, wait, what? Yes. Open Cup is going on. You're chasing after the spot. 64 teams enter November, chasing after Open Cup qualifying round advancement. 32 games, 22 states in D.C. 32 Open Division teams, 16 of the squads get their way through the 4 qualifying rounds going through the fall. Third qualifying round commences Saturday afternoon with the squad that got the final slot, Sharktopus FC. And you'll remember the story about Sharktopus is that they had to, and yes, that is their name, Sharktopus had to replay their game in the last round because there was a concern over the center ref who had ties to one of the two teams competing in the Sharktopus match. And so it was raised after the match was over. And I think he played for one of the two teams. And so they found that out, replayed the match. Sharktopus makes their way through. They get to take on Ballard, who's trying to get their third straight appearance into the tournament. And, when you got a team called Sharktopus, you have to keep an eye on it. So it's 13 games, 6 involving teams in Florida. Saturday, you have Open Cup after dark with 4 out west, 4 in the LA area in and of itself. Irvine and Laguna United, San Diego Internacional, and City SC San Diego. 19 regional matchups on Sunday. So here's the rundown. Saturday, and I'm just going to do the ones that are close by in the footprint. Saturday, Apex, North Carolina, Briar United, Grove United. Melbourne, Florida, Harbor City, Bold City, at Palm Bay High School. Our friends from Christos are hosting a match at 7 o'clock on Saturday night. Palm Beach and City Soccer in Willington, Florida. You have Denton Diablos in USL League 2 hosting a match at Bishop Lynch in Dallas. You've got you've got Open Cup after dark to finish your Saturday. On Sunday, it is Potros and Atletico Buford at Marietta High School. Marietta High School Potros and Atletico Buford, 5 o'clock Eastern time. If you're near, go, just because you can have some fun and watch some Open Cup qualifying there as well. You've got Kalanji Pro Profile and Mint Hill. That's at Shiloh High School in Snellville. That is at 7 o'clock on Sunday night. Emerald FC Orlando, FC America CFL Spurs is in Lake Mary, Florida at 7. Miami Soccer Academy Red Force at Monsignor Pace at 7. Miami United Florida Football Club at Central Broward Park at 7. Tennessee United and Southern Indiana FC at Station Camp in Gallatin, Tennessee at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And then everybody else is Open Cup after dark. So if you are in any of these states and if you are in anywhere close to these matchups, go. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. If you've got nothing going on, if your college football team isn't doing much of anything on the afternoon, then go and check them out and find out what the deal is with another year of Open Cup. Now, let me see if there's anything else domestic that I need to get into before. Sportico's note and LAG's roster decisions. Sportico mentioned, and also if you follow our friend Nico Moreno, that it appears that for the first time since 2009, it looks like Seattle as an ownership group might be looking out for outside investment. Large minority partner that can lend capital and expertise to the club's ambitions, mentioning of a new stadium as a part of being what this new investor can bring to the table. The team has retained Moelis & Company to explore a, quote, strategic capital raise, according to a statement shared with Sportico, and that was with the release that came out with Seattle. Sounders looking for a large minority partner that can lend capital and expertise to the club's big project ambitions. Real estate aspirations that could include a new soccer-specific stadium at the Long Acres development. So we'll keep an eye on that going forward. LAG had, and Tom Bogert, thank you, Ricky, for posting that. I've got to go back and circle through it. All right, so LAG had their roster decisions that were announced yesterday. Not a whole lot of surprises per se, but you did have some names that you can keep an eye on. One of them specifically is Diego Fagundes, and what the latest is with Fagundes. So you have the availability. Where's my Galaxy Communications? So did they announce? Yeah, here we go. Roster decisions for LAG. 17 players under contract. Exercised options for John Nelson, no relation, and Mauricio Cuevas. And you don't know how freaky it is when I'm listening to an LA Galaxy match when you have someone that we've talked to here on the morning show talk about John Nelson dribbling the ball forward. Tucker Lepley, Isaiah Parente, Gino Vivi, exercised options. Contract extended with Christian Ramirez and Brady Scott. Continued discussions with Botafogo to retain Mateus Nascimento. Declined the options on Miguel Berry, Eric Zavaleta, Diego Fagundes. Club remains in conversations with Fagundes about returning in 2026. So that was probably the biggest name involving that. All right, so let's take the tour. Copa Libertadores and Sudamericana. Last night, it was chaos. Jason talks about it in Morning Espresso, that I don't think you've ever had a team down 3-0 come back to win. And our buddy Nino Torres was absolutely crestfallen last night after you have the comeback win in Libertadores to come back to win 4-3 on a penalty with 10 minutes to go. And you end up with a win in that regard. So you had in Libertadores, Palmeiras and Flamengo are now going to be your final. That one's going to be at the end of next month. So Palmeiras and Flamengo, after the semifinals, you end up with those two teams working their way through. And so it was Palmeiras and Flamengo, and it was just a stunner of a match last night. And then in Sudamericana, you had Lanús and our friend Marcelino Moreno getting the win. The second leg is going to be on the 22nd. And so you have Lanús is a dog at home to Atletico Mineiro in Brazil. And so you have Lanús getting the win, and now they're a dog at home. And the match in and of itself, so they knocked off Universidad de Chile as a minus 123, and they get to take on Atletico Mineiro. So it's Argentina versus Brazil in the Copa Sudamericana final. And it was just an absolute stunner with now Palmeiras and Flamengo going to be squaring off against each other in Copa Libertadores. I'm sitting here and I'm just literally crossing things off as I go. The Guardian this morning, headline, Crystal Palace, they're kind of hot because they now have 5 matches in 11 days after the Carabao Cup progress. Welcome to big boy football. Oliver Glasner's side could play 2 matches in 54 hours, and the club is in discussions with the EFL over the scheduling, and this is getting into the Carabao Cup quarterfinals. Their win on Wednesday set up a repeat of last season's quarterfinal with Arsenal, supposed to take place on Tuesday the 16th or Wednesday the 17th of December. Palace is supposed to schedule Finnish side KUPS on the 18th in their final Conference League phase fixture. The Emirates looks like it can be confirmed Tuesday for the EFL. So now, 2 matches in 54 hours. Manchester City at Selhurst Park on the 14th at 2 o'clock. Moved this month to Sunday to accommodate the Conference League match at Shelbourne on the 11th of December on Thursday. They're also supposed to play Leeds in the Premier League on the 21st and have commitments in every midweek before then. Further complicated by the fact Arsenal have 2 Champions League fixtures in January, first legs of the Carabao Cup semis, and the Gummy Bear Cup. That starts on the 13th of January. So Palace and Arsenal are now understood to be in discussions with the EFL, but there appears to be little wriggle room in a congested schedule. So there is precedent a bit. Spurs and Skengia in a Europa League qualifier, they were supposed to play Leyton Orient in League Cup in 2020. Former was called off because of the COVID outbreak at Orient, and Spurs progressed to the next round. So Oliver Glasner complained about scheduling of the FA Cup semifinal, and so that's where we are. Mikel Arteta is warning that clubs could pull out of cups amid fixture congestion, and that was not necessarily a surprising take from his Friday morning presser. Ed Aarons at The Guardian. EFL's yet to confirm about Arsenal and Crystal Palace. Arteta at his Friday press conference. Every decision we make in terms of a fixture has to be guided on 2 main things, player welfare and then supporters. That's it. The rest has to come from very, very far away from that. Asked whether big clubs could decide to prioritize some competitions, Arteta said, I hope we don't go that far. If we have that big piece of paper with the 2 principles there in front before we make any decision, all of us in our industry, we won't get there. If we don't, we just ignore that, then anything is possible. So that is the word from Mikel Arteta. UEFA has revealed interest in bids for the 28 and 29 European finals. The 15 different associations are interested in 28 and 29 Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, and the Women's Champions League final. They're not binding. Final bids must be submitted by June 10th of next year. It looks like the 28 Men's Champions League final staged in Munich. They're the only current bidder. Wembley and the Camp Nou main contenders to host it in 29. Cardiff and Dublin among the contenders to stage the Women's Champions League final 29. Lyon, Bilbao, Basel, and Istanbul, the 28 bidders. Host of 28 bidders in 29 for Europa League conference finals from France, Hungary, Kazakhstan, Poland, Romania, et al. So there's those notes. There was a note on Lucas Paquetá that I've got to get into before we get out of the interest in Europe. West Ham's Lucas Paquetá has been reprimanded, warned as to his future conduct over failure to cooperate with the FA investigation into spot fixing allegations. Paquetá was cleared of 4 spot fixing charges by an independent commission in July, but the commission did find he had failed to comply with a requirement to answer questions and provide information to the FA's investigation. FA later confirmed it would not appeal against the commission's decision to clear the Brazilian of the 4 spot fixing charges. So, Lucas Paquetá. Pep Guardiola in his Friday presser says there is no dominant team in the Premier League. He compared the Premier League's competitiveness to the NBA due to there being no dominant team in the last 4 or 6 years. Everyone can beat anyone. Premier League has always been like this. All the teams can beat each other. It is good. At some point, like the NBA, there's not a dominant team in the last 4 or 5 or 6 years. There's always one different team, and everyone can beat everyone. I think for the spectator and for the show of the Premier League, it is really, really good. So that's your note from what is going on in the Premier League to a point. There was the one story that I wanted to discuss. A West Ham relegation would cost taxpayers £2 million. This is from the Times and Matt Lawton, somebody that you really don't want to have as a byline. Struggling club's annual rent of £4 million to play at the London Stadium would be halved if they dropped down to the Championship under the terms of the 99-year lease. So then British taxpayers would be on the foot for the other 2 if they're relegated to EFL Championship. Control of a stadium that was built to host the 2012 London Olympics handed to the Greater London Authority. Most recent accounts for the year ending March 31st, 2024 showed an operating loss of almost 21 million pounds in public money, given that the small amounts of rent West Ham pays does not cover stadium operating costs. And if they're 19th in the table, you could have further expense if they get relegated, because then your rent is halved. Club is set to announce significant losses for last season, may well need to generate funds in January, even if Lucas Paquetá has said he wants to leave in January, and that may help out with your profit and sustainability. So keep an eye out on that. Something else. Oh, by the way, the U17 World Cup, where Maddie mentioned Cooper Sanchez, first match for the United States is at 10:15 on Wednesday morning against Burkina Faso in Group I stage play. Activity starts Monday the 3rd at 7:30 in the morning on Universo, Telemundo Deportes, Ahora, FS2, Telemundo, Fox Soccer Plus, and all points in between. Now, juice boxes for Premier League on the weekend. Fix your fantasy teams appropriately. And here you go. Tomorrow, you've got 5 matches at 11 o'clock. Brighton favored at home against Leeds. Burnley a plus 975 at Turf Moor hosting Arsenal at a minus 370. Crystal Palace a minus 108 hosting Brentford. Fulham a minus 118 hosting Wolves. Nottingham Forest a plus 246 hosting Manchester United at a plus 102. Spurs a plus 171 hosting Chelsea at a plus 152 at 130. Liverpool minus 156 hosting Aston Villa at a plus 375. Keep an eye out on the draw option at a plus 330. Then on Sunday, 2 matches, West Ham and Newcastle. Newcastle on the road a minus 161. Manchester City a minus 196 hosting Bournemouth at 11:30 Sunday morning. Monday Night Football, Sunderland and Everton. Everton a plus 168 at Sunderland, who is a plus 175. I literally have this list of stuff to get into. Okay. Also, Real Madrid is seriously apparently thinking of suing UEFA for 5 billion euro. Now, Phil Hay at The Athletic. It is an ESL claim over the Super League. Now, project dreamed up back in 2021. Remember how we thought that it could work if they had just followed protocol. Instead, they didn't. They just wanted to parachute in. Here's the deal. And there you go. We're doing it. And then it fell apart. So because objections were all over the place, Model proposed guaranteed qualification for 12 teams, including Real Madrid. Now, it appears Madrid is threatening legal action in the form of a $5.2 billion suit against UEFA. The league's leaders claim the staggering figure, not far off 5 times their annual revenue, according to Hay, represents the income lost as a result of Europe's governing body blocking the ESL. Calculation based on hypothetical matchday broadcast and commercial cash streams. They haven't materialized, obviously. So welcome payments would have been worth up to $350 million, or $415 in the case of Madrid and Barcelona, the 2 biggest draws. And the whole idea was that the tournament would be bigger, more lucrative than Champions League, paying out greater sums as a result. Backlash now that it might end up in court. Now the Super League wrangle, according to Hay, is absurdly complicated. You get this sense of a sport disappearing up its own firmament, just kind of looping back upon itself. So UEFA's counterattacked by redesigning Champions League, making it larger, bringing in more revenue. And so the odd thing, according to Hay, about the attempts to keep the Super League flame burning is that some who supported it, like Barca, are now satisfied, apparently, with the new Champions League format. So if the Super League tried to launch again, would Barca stay with UEFA, or would they go to the new Super League? We don't know. So keep an eye out on that. Desiree Doué out for PSG to a thigh strain. And then Laura Harvey also announced that she used ChatGPT to formulate her tactics for the NWSL this season. Told her to use a back 5, so she did. And they're 4th in the table. So you had you've got that as a part of anything and everything. Also, now officially out the door as of 8 minutes ago, Pedro Gallese is gone from the social media of the Purple Team. Thank you for everything, El Pulpo. After 6 seasons in the City Beautiful, Pedro Gallese will depart the club following the conclusion of his current contract. So they are not renewing the deal for Pedro Gallese under any circumstance. And so that's going to be someone else on the market. Someone else is going to be on the market. Sean Johnson on the market. Pedro Gallese on the market. Anybody else? We're getting there. So that's where we are involving all of those things. You'll notice that YouTube TV is in a bit of a fight with the 4-letter right now. So last night got pulled at midnight Eastern time. So they're in a bit of a row. Keep an eye out on all of that. So let me see if I've missed anything with all of my topics this morning that I wrote down. Libertadores Prem Open Cup. All right, let me check social media, and then we'll get you out of here for the weekend because it's a fun weekend and there's a lot to talk about. So let's check and see what storylines we might be missing. And this is where we check in with our friend Ben Jacobs and see if there's anything out there. We mentioned Wembley and Camp Nou, mentioned Lucas Paquetá. If you missed it, Ben Jacobs had an interview with LAFC's CBO Stacey Johns about Youngmin Son replacing Steve Cherundolo, the $1.25 billion valuation, and maybe a game against Angel City. So keep an eye out for that. Kieran McKenna says he's committed to Ipswich, not leaving for Celtic. Ange Postecoglou looks like he is unlikely to return now, and possibly he might be heading to Italy. Keep an eye out for all of that. So I think that's going to do it in the short term because we got stuff to do. Once again, this weekend, to keep an eye out at the Academy, atlutd.com/live. Maddie the Hoff and Jason are calling those matches at 10 and noon-ish. You can watch those on YouTube. Watch The Next Generation for Atlanta United. Go up against the other clubs and what is going on with all of them. And that'll start your weekend. Once again, Roots will be a trip to Prague, Czechoslovakia. You can catch that on your favorite podcatcher. And also it is for Red Clay. We'll follow all the other things. We are efforting an interview about life in junior college right now and what is going on there and the successes that GMC is having on the junior college ranks. So that is the weekend that we know it. Once again, set your notifications as you do, and you go from there. All right. So once again, thanks to Maddie. Thanks to Tony Husband. Thanks to Michael Parkhurst. Thanks to Bart Keeler. This week in general, let's go back. Thanks to Nico. Thanks to Nino. Thanks to Chris Doran. Thanks to Max Anderson, the play-by-play voice of the Chicago Fire. Thanks to Dylan Butler. Thanks to Tyler Pilgrim. Thanks to Jason Stevens. Thanks to Casey D. And thanks to Gabe Schrei. Thanks to Abe Gordon. And once again, thanks to Bart for appearing on Monday. I think that's everybody that we had this week on SDH AM. And that's what we try to do every week that we're with you. Try to give you all the storylines to get you into your day with all of the newsmakers and storylines and everything that is going on in and around the world of soccer. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks from Maddie, from Jason, from me, from Jarrett, from Nick and Sophia, to all of you. Thanks for dropping by as you always do for another go-round of SDH AM. Mucha plata, y'all. Yeah, really? The Bogart tweet. Yeah. Bogart said in his most recent audio that he would be borderline stunned, thank you, Ricky, if Tata wasn't the head coach and, quote, something would have to go wrong in his opinion. So right now, as we all know, Atlanta United does not put stuff out in the media, nor should you as a club to sit there and put yourself at a deficit when it comes to any kind of a negotiation. So that's where we are right now. We're waiting to find out who's on line one and who's going to be on line two for Atlanta United and everybody else and all the openings and such. So we'll keep an eye on it. But yes, Ricky, I think you're correct that Tom Bogart will probably have a tweet when the show is over. Once again, let me say thank you to everybody who was here this morning. Thanks to David. Thanks to Ricky. Thanks to Abby before she had to get ready for everything involving Halloween. And let's see. Thanks to Rich. Thanks to Four Card. Thanks to Jordan for dropping by. Jordan thinks it's going to go 3. We got the bot taken care of. 3-story agnostic QB got discussed with our friends at Twitch. So let's see. Jordan, Abby, Ricky, Dell was in to discuss what's going on with Charleston and with Rhode Island in USL Championship. And so, yes, taking notes on the stadium would, let's find you, take your notes and then go out to the suburbs and build your barn. I think that's what's going to happen. Our opening round, USL Championship, when it comes to their playoff scenarios on Morning Alex, and that'll do it. So that's another go round of SDH AM in the world of squirrel. That is my brain every single Monday through Friday, getting you ready for everything going on the planet. Since it is the end of another week, you know what we got to do. We go here. Mucha plata, y'all. Play it safe. We'll catch up with you this weekend. See you around back at it again, 9:05 on Monday morning.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours because it's Friday.